Should Gio Van Bronckhorst be sacked as the manager of Glasgow Rangers? That is the question that we are here to ask, and hopefully by the end of this video we will have the answers. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. Probably the last thing Gio needs is us making a video on him. I mean, in all honesty, probably doesn't care, but you know what? We've buried him enough, and I think we'll probably bury him again over the next 5 to 6 minutes. But the big question is, should he go? And Gaming Jesus, what's your initial response to that?
Should he go? Well, I think of course he should go. I called it months ago. I called it weeks ago. Literally, once we get beat by Celtic 4-0, I said he should go. While the gap is close, we should get rid of him, bring someone else in now. Because see this whole gimmick of, oh, we have to learn from this defeat and move on, and you know, we learn, I teach, I attend, you know, all that good stuff. Fuck him, right? Because see that game against Celtic, it showed he learned hee-haw. It was the exact same as the pumpings last year that we received for Celtic, right? See that game we got beat 4-0? That was exactly the same game we got beat 3-0 at Parkhead.
Yes, I watched the DVD.
No, it was. Apart from there was one more goal.
Anyway, let's talk about the current standings. So,
you bought the DVD? Well, here's an extra goal. Fucking delete it scene.
Extended version. Current standings. Rangers currently in second, but they're 9 points off Celtic with 15 games in. I think anyone can accept that's not good enough. Goal difference, they are 17 goals behind Celtic. No matter what way you read this, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good, right? And see,
Aberdeen and third are closer to Rangers than Rangers are to Celtic. And Aberdeen have not had a good season, let's be honest here. It's not like Aberdeen... A lot of Aberdeen fans want Jim Goodwin out. But Aberdeen are closer to Rangers than Rangers are to Celtic, so that could be a problem.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You get embarrassed for 6 games in the champ, and that's what it was. It was 6 games of total fucking embarrassment, if we're being
right,
real.
Well, we will get on to that in a minute, right?
Well, we're going, because 6 games of huge L's, right? And then 9 points behind in November in the league. 9 points at this stage.
Well, I've already covered that. We're not even halfway through the season, and he's already 9 points. In terms of what are we through the season, like 30% maybe? 40%?
Aye, 40%.
It's not good enough. So, in the league, second place, 9 behind Celtic. In Europe, finished last, out of Europe, didn't even get a single point. Pretty embarrassing. So, as for Gio, I mean, he's still in the League Cup, barely, after a 1-0 win over Dundee. But I have no confidence that Rangers will win that.
Nope.
At all. I think they'd be lucky if they make the final. And
best case scenario for Rangers if they win both cups, and I don't see that happening.
And obviously they're still in the Scottish Cup because it hasn't happened yet. So that's the current standings for Rangers right at the moment. Out of Europe, probably out the league. Small chance they win in the League Cup, and the Scottish Cup hasn't really begun yet, so it's not good right now. A lot of people will talk about last season and the run to the Europa League final and the Scottish Cup run, right? And let's give Gio some credit, right? He won the Scottish Cup, fair enough, decent. It's not great, but Rangers haven't won many trophies since they went down to League 2, so I think to get any sort of cup, plus Gerrard never won a cup, so need to give him a bit of credit for that.
Aye, we do, but
I don't want to talk too much about last season, but he did win a cup, so we'll give him a bit of credit for that. And he got to the final of the Europa League. So, you know what, that's 2 positives, that's 2 things that Gio did well. But since people are bringing up what he done last season, I think it's also important to bring up things about last season, that he lost a 10-point swing in the league to Celtic. So when Gio came in, Rangers were 6 points clear. By the time the season finished, they were 4 points behind. So that's 10 points. He's lost it to Celtic. Plus, if you want to talk about his Europa League run, I mean, he essentially did it with Gerrard's team. You can see now that Gio's had 2 windows, and in the space of those 2 windows, the team has drastically got worse. So we can talk about what Gio done last season, but let's not pretend that last season was all smiles and roses and shit like that, because there was bad stuff that happened last season as well. But it's decision time, so let's get into the pros and cons of if Gio should be sacked or if Gio should stay. So we're going to start with the pros as to why he should stay, because there's less of them, obviously. So first up, probably the most important reason why Gio should stay, it would cost millions for the club to get rid of him. And Rangers aren't really in the business of spending millions. They want to make money. So, thoughts on that?
Right, I get that logic, because to be honest, that's probably the only pro you can give for keeping them. But, right, I would rather... But you're stuck in a dilemma there. They're going to have to spend money in January, right? Even if you do keep them on players. They're going to have to, because they're fucking injuries and the players are shit. Right? So, therefore, you either keep him, even though he's shit, because you don't want to get rid of him, because you don't want to spend money. But if you keep him, you need to spend money on transfers. But then again, if you get rid of him...
You need to spend money on transfers anyway,
exactly,
so I don't exactly know where that point's going. But yeah, it would cost the club a lot of money to get rid of Gio. And the second pro as to why he should be kept, I mean, this is kind of clutching at straws. But the winter break has arrived, so there's time for Gio to regroup. He can get injured players back, and he can maybe work on the squad, and he's got, 35 days, 40 days, or whatever, to try and fix things. So that is the two prawns. Prawns?
Prawn cocktail, brother.
That's the two pros as to why Gio should stay. Now moving on to the cons now. Moving on to why he shouldn't stay. Moving on to why he should go. 9 points behind Celtic. The league's over. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair to say. It was over when they beat them 4-0.
I don't even think the biggest Rangers fan thinks Rangers will come back and win this league.
No. Absolutely not. The gap will be similar to what it was 2 seasons ago when Lennon was in charge of Celtic.
I said at the start of the season I predicted around 15 points. It might even be a bit more than that, based on the way it's going at the moment.
Put it this way, you've 3 old firms to go, which could be 9 points alone.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say that's a good reason why he should go, because we're 15 games in and the league is pretty much over already. Second reason why he should go: abysmal Champions League campaign. Worst ever performance from a team in the Champions League. No wins, no draws, a shitload of goals conceded, and I believe Rangers only scored two goals in the entire campaign.
They did. They scored against Ajax and they scored against Liverpool, right? But the funny thing is, him saying we can't compete, right? Look at the amount of teams they get in the Champions League, right? And they can't even compete in the Europa League. They can't compete in Europe full stop no matter what they're in, right? Because they've just scraped through in the qualifiers, right? Rangers have done worse than teams that are abysmal, that couldn't even get out of the Europa League group stages, right? So how can a team that gets the European final, Europa League final, right? I know it loses 2 best players, but according to Gio, we got the team, it's the team we wanted. How can a team go for the Europa League final to get him pumped 6 times? I'll tell you why, because the manager's inept and he should be out of a fucking job, and I don't know how he's there. If Rangers are a big club, you can't lose 6 games in the points, be 9 points behind Celtic, and still keep the fucking guy. That's the biggest pro of getting rid of him ever. How can you lose 6 straight games in the Champions League? Embarrassments, right? Every single one was an embarrassment.
People will, a lot of Rangers fans go, well, Celtic didn't do that good either, and if Celtic were in Rangers' group, Celtic would have got 0 points, and people think Rangers fans seem to think if they were in Celtic's group, they would have got more points than Celtic did, based on the fact they beat Red Bull Leipzig last year. I disagree with that. I think Celtic could have got points in Rangers' group, and I think Celtic could have got a hell of a lot more points in their current group than they actually got. I mean, I look at Celtic's games in the Champions League, and I'm thinking, out of those 6 games, they could have got points in a lot of them. Looking at
apart from the Bernabeu game.
But you say that, I mean, they'd like...
I know, but
2 penalties, but debatable, and then they had 3 good chances in the first half. Whereas, what game did you look at in Rangers going, yeah, you know what, could have got points there? Probably the Napoli game. I think the sending off and penalty changed that. But apart from that, I mean, didn't really come close.
Went 1-0 up against Liverpool. Conceded a very cheap goal. And then, the arse well and truly went.
Anyway, so Champions League is done and dusted. For that reason, he should probably go. 6 defeats. And it's not just 6 narrow defeats. And it's not like, they get good effort, or they played well, or they took it to them, It was 6 embarrassments, 6 pumpings. Reason number 3, he's lost the fans. Now, I know a lot of... the Rangers support were, kind of split, I think, for a lot of this season. Even after the Livingston game, there was a lot of people saying, give Gio time, and we've got injuries, this and that. But I think ever since the loss to St Johnstone, I think there's just been a large number of fans that have come out against them, and it might have been 50-50, I think, going into that St Johnstone game, but Definitely not 50-50 anymore. I think there's a lot more wanting him out than there is wanting him to stay. I mean, I think it's probably like 90-10. And if the fans are against you, then you probably already got one foot out the club. So,
yep, absolutely. The fans, I've noticed that anything Rangers post, it's like announced Gio out. Literally every comment's that hashtag Gio out. Like you say, a few weeks ago, months ago, it was definitely split. Now I'd say it's like 99-1.
Okay, another reason, horrible signings. He's had 2 transfer windows, and they were both horrendous. The one in the winter there, brought in Ramsey, fucking horrible. Cost Rangers to Europa League final. Brought in Diallo, supposed to be a £40 million wonder kid, done absolutely nothing. There was a couple other players that he brought in. He brought in some right back from Poland. Has been non-existent. Then in the summer transfer window, again, brought in a lot of players. Apart from Cholak, would you give any of them pass marks? Maybe Lawrence.
But you know, you got to look at it as well. You got to look at the people who you let go, right? Just forget about Bassi and Aribo, because that's money. He let fucking Balogun and Katic go.
Yep.
2 good centre backs.
Plus, he let Nathan Patterson go, right? And I know you could argue you got Tav, but let's be real. I mean, Nathan Patterson's a player that you could have literally had for another 10-15 years. Could have became a club legend. Whereas Tavernier, I mean, he's not going to be around forever. Like, wage Tavernier now.
Like, let's be real. See, at the time, I thought it was a really good deal. And you know what? 16 million for a guy who hadn't played a lot of football is pretty good for Scottish football, right? But Nathan Patterson's ceiling is, if he hits what he can hit, he will be 1,000,000 times better than Tav.
Exactly. I mean, I think at the time there was some Rangers fans thinking that Patterson was already better than Tav. If you know, I mean, you just take away Tav's like penalties and stuff like that. I think people actually preferred Nathan Patterson playing. I thought people thought he was better defensively, and maybe you could have pushed Tav further up and had Nathan Patterson. Since Rangers have had a right wing problem now for a very long time, in more ways than one. So yeah, 2 terrible transfer windows. Like I said, not just the signings coming in, but the players going out.
That was a good one.
So yeah, horrible transfer windows. Right wing extremism. They need to get an extremely good fucking player on the right wing. Horrible record against Celtic in the league. It is 3 L's and 1 draw. And let's be real, 2 of those 3 L's have been fucking slaughters. I mean, it's been bad. It's not been good. The 4-0, the 3-0. I mean, and the thing is, man, those scorelines were probably generous to Rangers, I felt.
Yeah.
Then they had the draw. There was another loss that was pretty close, 2-1. Now, Rangers do hold a victory over Celtic in the Scottish Cup, but it was in extra time, so kind of more of a draw than anything. But
for fuck's sake, what?
The league...
Give him a bit of credit, man. I hate the guy. I don't hate the guy, it's a bit strong, but I mean, he should be gone. But give him... If you win a game in extra time, you still win.
Like,
Rangers and Frankfurt drew the Europa League. No one won it.
Alright then, he's beat Celtic once in the Cup. Happy fucking days. They need 118 minutes to do it. Next reason, he's inferior to Ange Postecoglou. The reason being is, he's been there about a year, and his time at the club, since he's took over, he is 19 points behind Ange. He's a 19-point deficit. 10 points in his first season. He lost it to Ange and he's lost 9 already, and we're only 15 games in. So a 19-point deficit. I mean, if he stays by the end of the season, that could easily reach 30.
Yeah, and I see these people that say Gio hasn't been backed. Obviously, the Champions League money, they should have did more, right? But Rangers signed Yilmaz for the same fees that Celtic signed O'Reilly, Hatate and Haksabanovic for. Less. It was 4.6 million that.
Well,
Yilmaz was 5.
That would make you sick, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would make you sick. Like, it makes me sick, makes me want to shoot myself. But we have to move on and we have to trust the process. No, but fuck the process. The process is it.
Now, I think if you look at his results, it's actually not that bad. Up till he lost against St Johnstone, he hadn't lost to anybody apart from Celtic since he took over. Points wise, on average, it's not that bad, like points per game. His record's decent, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if you've got a decent record. If the other side of Glasgow's got a great record, then you're going to be under pressure. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how well Gio does. If he's doing like 7 out of 10, but Ange is doing a 10 out of 10, then Gio either needs to up his game to get there or get sacked. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you need to be first.
See, in Glasgow, there's no place for second place.
A good second means absolutely nothing in Glasgow. And last but not least, in my con department, boring football, predictable football, side to side, pass to the side, pass to the other side, pass it out to the wing, cross it into the box, gets headed away, rinse and repeat. I think not only is it boring, it's not only is it not attractive, but I think the majority of the league has now figured it out.
Dundee even figured it out. Everyone's figured it out.
And it hasn't seemed to change. He hasn't tried anything new. So, yeah, boring football. And, that's the cons. There's a lot more cons than pros. But when you come to a final decision, ultimately for me, will Gio win the league? And the answer's no. He didn't win it last season. He won't win it this season. And if it's going to be a straight fight between him and Ange, I never see Gio winning the league.
I'll put it this way, right?
For that reason,
if he couldn't win the league 6 points ahead with a better team, how is he going to win it this year 9 points ahead with a worse team?
9 points behind. So yeah, my whole point was he's not going to win the league because Rangers are getting worse, Celtic are getting better. So it's as simple as that. And if anything, I think the longer he stays and the longer Ange stays, the gap between both clubs will grow. And second is first last in Glasgow. So for me, Gio should be gone.
Yep, he should be gone. Has to be gone. Check out tomorrow at 12 PM. Rangers press conference. He'll be gone. Don't worry about it. Till then, peace.